recognition, I can just go first since I am unmuted. But I wanted to shout out Emily for taking kind of a lead role with some other gals. And Emily, I'll let you shout out who else is part of that group on kind of revamping the free group and resources for us to use. We will make that a call so you can share more about how that's going to get utilized by the rest of us coaches. And then I also want to shout out Sarah for sharing her journey through traveling, and also just being so real. Like, she's had so many wins with this journey, and there's been a couple moments this week where she's had to struggle, and she shared it still. And I'm just so proud to see that kind of growth, because that's really what goes to show this isn't just a physical thing that we do and grow through.
I'll go. I want to shout out Amanda's team because I know we did a bigger team call last week. Y'all are pushing 1-star qual, which is so huge and proof that guys like just stay the course and just trust the journey and just like believe in the process. If she wants to speak, because I know she's at work, go for it. But I'm just so proud of you. It's been awesome to see you integrate in and just see your girls fly. I'll let you speak because I don't know what your time's like, and then I'll pop back on.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, I'm just gonna shout out all the girls on my team who are helping me with that, but also Moana. We didn't get to shout her out last week either for achieving Success Starter. She is the first one on my team other than me back in 2016 to get this, and it's just like the coolest thing ever. So yay.
Can't wait to see what insider test group stuff we get from you.
We found out yesterday. We're real pumped about it.
Okay, well, can't wait to hear the deets. And I just wanted to shout out, like, I can't say it enough how much this community gives you purpose when you feel like your life does a somersault in the most unexpected ways. On Sunday, I walked home from Easter for the first time on a Sunday night, feeling so alone and just like unsure of what this week would be. Sorry, I didn't mean to get emotional. But Jess and Christine sent me like this cute little book, which I haven't even read yet. And it's not even about the things, guys, but like, you know, I've been through a lot of shit over 6.5 years, but this is definitely takes the cake. And I just can't say enough, like, don't stop showing up and leaning in here, because you just never know how much this community means to you when you get things taken away from you. So thanks y'all for being there for me. I'm gonna stop.
We love you, Danielle. And I'll end with another note too that I just saw Rachel pop on. So I want to welcome her back to the team, back to team calls. She's a bride to be. She crushed her journey starting as a coach in May of last year, just with an amazing physical transformation, and is still a student in school. She's going through so much, and she's like, I'm ready. So we're excited to see where that takes her. But let's go into I guess, do I really have that many announcements? I might need help with this. I didn't prep the announcements, you guys. Full disclosure. I know that we have the coach launch for Let's Get Up this month. So that starts on the 19th. Let me actually just pull up the calendar that Danielle makes, because it just makes everything so much easier for me. Thanks, Danielle.
Super weekend this Saturday.
Super weekend. I will be making an event in the hub for that, so we can do a little watch party, something like Zoom, where we're chit-chatting about whatever they announce, which I'm super pumped. I think they'll be sharing more about Amwala's summer program in that. I think we might also get details on a new physical product, so that's going to be huge. And then there will be also the Success Club trip registration. So the way that kind of works, if you're not in like very specific categories of elite coach or premier coach, or a first time team leader, then everyone else gets invited off of the opt-in list that you can find by either Googling Beachbody Success Club Trip 2022 opt-in list. You can find it on your coach office. There are so many ways to find this list. It's also been shared in our chat. But with all of that said, sign up for the list, put your name on it. You never know, they're putting in the first 5,000 coaches, and people do also decline those invites for various personal reasons. So have your name on that list just for the best chance of getting a spot. And then lastly, I think the last thing I want to mention, so I see on here, there's the team sneak peek workout for Let's Get Up. That's on the 17th. Mark your calendar for that. It'll be a little Zoom party. And then lastly, I'll start posting some this week for interest in-person event for Summit. So they have shifted it a little bit from a little bit of a weekend celebration to a Monday to Friday. I know that almost every single one of us work, so that means time off and travel. But I am fired up, especially after our retreat. We'll talk about that today more, about being in person with you guys. So I'm definitely planning to have something together, not required. We'll do Zoom meetings, but if it's something you want to, then you're invited. Okay, anybody have anything else to add to that before we get started? And Danielle, if I don't have host, I just need to share my screen for something first. And yay, we're in the labor room for Zoom during Summit Week for Allie. That's pretty legit. Do I have it now? I haven't tested it.
Yeah, you should have it.
Cool. So I'm just going to start off really quickly. We are probably not going to have too long of a call, but what we wanted to kind of bring to the table today was a little bit of a reflection from each person and what they came out of our team retreat with, what nuggets, if it was business related, personal, community, everyone had their own perspective of that time together. But to set the stage, since this was something hosted for my downline coaches, you might not have known what it took for them to show up in the first place and qualify. This was not something that everyone got an invite to. It was open to my entire team, but this had to get earned, and rightfully so, because I feel like I spoiled them. So let me just share my screen with that. So here is, and hopefully you guys can see, here were the requirements that I had for my team. It was 5 months of a qualification, and it was based off of a point system. So they could earn points in any of these ways, any of these categories, some related to their own personal journey and that consistency, and some related to business growth. Ultimately, one of the things that I liked the most about using a point structure like this, and Morgan's the only other coach who's been on my team long enough to know I've done this system for a previous retreat before, is you can earn the retreat if you do the personal growth and the personal journey points maxed out. So if you read a book, one each month, which is doable, if you completed a program, 3 of them in 5 months, and if you ordered your Shakeology every month, you earned your spot. You got your 15 points. And so this wasn't one of those retreats of Emerald and above, Diamond and above, and those are really common in this business. But I wanted to kind of show that my appreciation for the coaches on my team went beyond the traditional rank and recognition, and that every aspect was important for them as coaches, for growing, and for me to see in them as far as like passing it back forward. So if there's any questions about this, unmute, put in the box, but I think we'll just kind of start passing around. I want to go last, sorry, about like a few minutes of reflection. So first up on my screen is Morgan, sorry. So I'm just gonna put you and you'll play bump. We'll play bump with everyone who was invited.
No worries. All right. I have notes, of course, because it's me and I'll forget if I don't write it down.
Hey, Morgan.
Yeah.
I want to just say, like, what's the point of a retreat for maybe a newer coach that never has even been on it or seen anybody do it, just to kind of like, from a newbie perspective?
Yeah. I guess my opinion of a point of a retreat is one to like actually meet people on your team, since a lot of us are from all over, having that in-person connection. I think it's also to recognize someone who's actually a working coach, like Jess said, whether it's like working their business or just actively personally working on themselves through the coaching. Yeah, someone who's showing up, not just sitting back and watching. Team building, team bonding, I think that's actually something I'm going to talk about more. So does anyone else have any opinion on purpose behind the retreat?
I think it's also just like VIP groups. I mean, if there's an exclusivity, there's a want to participate in the bonuses and the extras, and the way Beachbody does that with their own recognition, every coach can kind of find their niche for their own community through retreats. And so for me, that's an opportunity to have this exclusive community and a special bond with the coaches that are returning back into my own business, which those are where those activities basically stem from. And yeah, FOMO is huge. That's one of the biggest things that was a driver for a lot of these girls. I mean, we had 3 qualifications in the last month. It was really exciting times, actually.
All right, so this is perfect segue into one of my first and probably biggest takeaways. So this was like the thing that I just kept thinking when I got home from the retreat was, I'm so glad that I got to meet Emily and Danica in person, because Jess and I obviously already knew each other and have already met in person before. But it's just like such a different level of like getting to know someone, obviously, when you're meeting them in person and hanging out with them in person. So kind of like to put this in takeaway perspective, whenever in-person events are a thing again, go to them. Like, get your butt there. I don't care if like your weekend's packed, just like make it a priority, because you don't realize how much it can help you mentally. Just like getting to know the people on your team, or even if you don't know anyone at your in-person event, Super Saturday, like make friends. It's just like a game changer in the whole Beachbody community. And even though they're not in person right now, still come to Super Saturday and all those virtual events, because it's still another level of getting to know people. So I think another benefit to meeting Emily and Danica in person, besides the fact that they're awesome and I got to know them a little bit more, is being able to form that deeper connection with people on the same team as you that are maybe working towards a common goal, and then learning how other people work. I feel like I have a better understanding of like how Emily works her business and how Danica works her business, and even Jess, like just the FaceTime and us being able to talk about everything because of the amount of time we spent together. It just really helps like put things in perspective for me, and I think overall will help us work together better in the future. Like, this might just be a me thing, but I feel like after getting to know you guys the past weekend, I feel more comfortable like reaching out to you one-on-one, or like, I don't know, being like, hey, do you guys need help? Or like even just inside jokes like, hey, remember what we did at the retreat? So yeah, that getting to know everyone and forming those deeper connections really meant a lot to me. So okay. The next one, which I feel like I kind of just said this, but I wrote down, everyone works their business in a different way, and that's totally okay. Like, I feel like sometimes, you guys see like me, Danielle, Jess, Amanda, like leading our teams. I would say like pretty similarly. It's a good reminder. It was a good reminder at the retreat to know that people run their business differently. Like, you got to find what works for you, and it's okay if you don't do things the same exact way as like Danielle runs her business or Jess runs her business. Sometimes I think there's a pressure to like, do what the top coaches are doing, but that might not be the case for what works for you. So that was a good reminder for me. Okay, the third thing I wrote down was, I feel like I've told you guys this before, but I'm going to repeat it because I could literally repeat it to myself every day. people are always watching, even when you think they're not. So when I got back from the retreat, I came home to a postcard from one of my best friends who I've known like since I was 5. And she was like, she likes to send postcards just to like catch up and be like, hey, how are you doing? But one of the things she said was, I hope you have so much fun in Houston. It's awesome that Beachbody has connected you to these girls like all around the US that you wouldn't have known without it. And she was like super impressed with the community and the friendships that I had made through it, which I feel like says a lot that if she was noticing that, then I must have been sharing it enough, you know? So even when you think people aren't watching, they are. So keep sharing. Let's see. Okay, you guys are gonna laugh at me. This one's silly, but I have to say it. If you guys need content for your Instagram, like Team Retreat, number 1, really good way to do that. Number 2, portrait, if you have an iPhone, sorry, Jess, portrait mode, studio lighting, outside light, natural light, studio lighting. I was like, this is the best picture I got on the retreat use with my iPhone. So if you're not familiar with portrait mode, studio lighting, check it out. It's great for Instagram pics. Sorry, I'm not reading the chat. Okay. Okay, and lastly, the team retreat at Jess's made me realize that I really want to be able to host a team retreat for my own team one day in the future. Because yeah, Jess like really did spoil us, but it was like our own work and effort that earned us the trip. So you have like a stake in it, but it was awesome just to like go away for a weekend and like it was literally like top-notch vacation, you know, like 5-star hotel rating, Jess. It was great. So yeah, it just made me realize that like I want to be able to like take what I've earned from Beachbody and like give it back to my team in a similar way. So yeah. Okay, does anyone have any questions for me? Okay, I will popcorn to Emily since she's next on my screen.
That studio lighting though, I walked up when that picture was taken and I was like, where did you get that photo right now? She was all by herself too.
And a tripod, yeah. If you don't have a tripod yet, get a tripod.
Well, I'll start off by saying that this was my first in-person anything. So I started during the pandemic, and so I also didn't like, I wasn't invited by anybody to join Beachbody. I was the lead. So I didn't know Jess. I didn't know that I was even really signing up to coach, but it was just like drawn to her energy. And so like the relationships that you build are huge. I had the opportunity to switch coaches to somebody that I knew, and the relationship that like Jess and I developed, I was like, why would I switch? Like, this is the vibe that I want. And so one of the things that like my biggest takeaway was like, nurture the relationship that you have. Because like Morgan said, I didn't know any of these girls. I had no relationship. I had no ties to any of them except for Beachbody. And so in getting to develop these like deeper relationships, now I know that like in the times that I'm like struggling, I feel more comfortable leaning on them. And that was something that we learned in one of the team trainings, that there's going to be so many struggles, like within your personal life, within your business, like life happens. But you get to choose your hard. So you can either take a step back and you can say, I really got to deal with this, or you can lean in. And like, it's so much easier to lean in when you're like developing these relationships in person. You know, I'm like, oh, I felt like I knew Jess and like a little bit Morgan, kind of Danica, because like I'd see them on the screen, but like now it's different. Like I wouldn't have a problem like reaching out to any of them. And so even more now, like I had an awful March. Like everything happened, and the only thing like at the end of March was getting to go to this retreat. And then I just left reinvigorated. Like I had that to look forward to. And then it was like, I can choose my heart. I can choose to let this past month just like drain me. Or I can say, like, no, I'm choosing to step up. I'm choosing to lean in. Um, So, yeah, getting to an in-person event is really important. The relationship, like this is about relationships and support. And I think like we talk so much about helping customers and like coaching, but it is really nice to have like even though it is our own business and you get out of it what you put in, you can also you have one another there to lift you up too. Um so that was kind of all of my takeaway, like wrapped up into one. I mean, it was fun to be spoiled too, but to like have earned it, not just to have shown up and kind of been like, do I deserve this? Like, do, but it was super invigorating, and like it just makes me that much more excited to like go to this in-person summit if we can make that happen, not the actual summit, but to still get to meet more of you, and you know to continue on this journey and to just keep nurturing the relationships. Okay, Danica.
Hi there. So I absolutely loved the time I got to spend with these girls. It was just exactly what I needed at the right time. I had kind of fallen into a slump with my business and just due to so many different things that have been going on for me. And I felt like I walked away from that weekend with, just like Emily was saying, a new perspective on what I was doing and where I was going wrong and what I needed to change so that I could move forward. And so I'm slowly working on, bringing things that I had kind of pushed to the side back into my routines and just trying to find a new purpose for my business. I think I had kind of lost something that I had started with, because I started off really strong last year, and then I was a success starter, and then after that I just kind of like fell off the wagon is what it felt like. But I did still, like Jess was saying, I did still want so much to be able to go to this retreat. The FOMO was real. She was right. I just knew that meeting these girls in person and getting to connect with them was something that I needed, even though I hadn't initially realized or intended on finding a community through Beachbody. I had just started from my own personal journey. I just realized it's something that I need. It's something that gives me it's something I really need to lean into more than I have been. And so I love seeing like Danielle leaning in during her struggles. That's inspiring me to feel like, okay, I can lean into this community too. And so my takeaways were a little bit different because I've I just had different personal things that I've been working through. And so but it really just brought me out of a funk, and I loved every moment of just like getting to know these girls and the experiences that we had. And just the photos that you took turned out amazing. Like I can't even pick like which ones I want to use because I love them all. So you're very talented. So I think
Danica, we all know from the retreat that you are the natural at posing. We got to watch, so we did like 2 sessions of photo shoots, you guys, and Danica would just stand in front of the camera. We're like, oh, everyone hold your breath. Like, she's done this before. There's a second life that you can't, you're like a reincarnated model. I'm not kidding. It's just like, everyone was standing there. I was like, I got a solo cup with a drink. I don't know what to do. Emily. And Danica's like, I'm just gonna take pictures. I'm not even gonna talk. I'm not even gonna tell you what to do. You were so easy to take pictures.
Oh, well, you're making me blush because like I haven't really spent a whole, like, that's something that has always honestly, like, some Beachbody and this whole experience as a coach has actually pushed me out of my comfort zones in so many ways that I didn't even realize it would. The fact that I record myself working out and post it, like that's a big deal. Like, I would have never imagined myself doing that. And, so thank you for, helping to support that and giving me that like confidence to jump out there, So yeah. I think that's like all I had. I have notes too, Morgan, but I'm like, I feel like I jumped around in them and I'm like, I don't know. But yeah, definitely ready to jump in with a new perspective. So, and really help people and just reconnect to where I started, but also find my new purpose. So I guess since Jess is going last, that means that Sarah's next.
All right, sorry, I couldn't find the unmute button. I attended virtually. We were taking a trip right after the retreat. We ended up actually pushing it the retreat weekend to see my husband's family. It had been like over a year at that point. And for health reasons of everyone who was visiting, I just couldn't travel, but just made it work where I attended virtually on Zoom and realized I know a lot more about pop culture than I thought I did. If someone asked me if I did, I would have been like, no, but then we played a game and I was like, oh yeah, I do. Big Rock fan. If anyone is not a fan of The Rock, let me know. I can give you a rundown. But watching the calls, attending one live and then watching the one later were both pretty huge. Remembering, I haven't been actively coaching for very long, right? I guess this is month 3 or 4. So I hit Success Club January and February and was really focused on only that in March and didn't get it. And then realized I didn't pay attention to most of the people that I signed up the first 2 months, right? It was just sort of like, okay, now they're doing it. Cool. Where's my next points coming from? And then that talked about that on both of the calls too. Like, that's not why I wanted to do this. I wanted to do this because I wanted to find friends who would help hold me accountable and who I could hold accountable and we could work on it together. So that's been a huge change already in the first couple of weeks of April, since then, just really paying attention to the challenges I already have and to the community we already have here, and knowing that if I lean into that, it will help me remember what worked in January and February too. And it was good to, just laugh and hang out with people, and it'd been a long year. So, and I sent some surprise package down that finally got there in time, thank goodness. USPS says 2 days, then it takes like 3.5 days to get there, but that was good. But yeah, it was fun. And, I joined in for mostly just the fun online parts, and we got to watch the call together, and it was awesome. But I will make it for Summit. I will make it in July. I don't care what happens. I already told everyone in my family, don't plan anything because I will not be here. And that is all. But yeah, that's it.
I love that. So you guys have probably heard a few of the girls allude to different activities. I think I'll just give you a little bit of an insight to what we did in case you weren't watching our stories, or in case you're curious, watching this recording or being on the call. So A couple of things we did was like an icebreaker. We did an icebreaker that was virtual friendly for Sarah. Everyone had wigs just to make it like an outer body experience of like, you're not who you are, like just have fun and be silly. So we all picked the most ridiculous wigs from Amazon. One of the sellers has been nonstop messaging me like, how did you like the wig? Here's your care instructions. I'm like, it's really not that serious, man. Like, it's okay. But we had so much fun. And the pop culture reference was Kyle kind of was my helper with this and gave us 5 celebrity pop culture famous people names that we as each individual had to guess. So like some of us were in person, we put it on our forehead, and I had like Justin Bieber and you had 20 questions to figure it out. So it was really fun. We learned a lot. The Rock was by far the hardest to figure out because he's good at everything. And arguably based on some people's opinions should be or should not be on the sexy list, but we'll pass on from that. Anyways, we also did, like I said, photo shoots. So we did one in like a cuter outfit and one in a workout outfit. Content is so helpful in just the whole world of coaching. Having a picture, like coming up with the words sometimes is tough, but then having a picture to go with it is hard too. So at least we got halfway there. We had a few calls. So we had a call with a corporate mentor, Mary Day. She's the Central Region kind of like advisor. I know her through working in the Houston Market Council. And then we also had Kelsey Smith, who, because of her daughter's 1-year birthday, recorded her recording for us, which was really cool. And then we had like a half training with Keisha Fitzgerald, and that's kind of going to be one of my points. We had something scheduled on the calendar from the She Goes community, if you guys listen to the Empower Her podcast. We also had a private chef come by the house to teach us how to make our own sushi and educate us in all things sushi, and that what makes sushi good is the rice and not the fish. Huge lesson, gave us all these tips on how to feel like you are an expert going into restaurants. And Morgan has some sort of crazy ability with making sushi rolls. He was stunned. And then, yeah, beyond that, it was just drinking games and fun and bonding. So I would say like 10% business, 90% fun. And that's how I like to run my retreats. What did you guys say? Okay, a really good balance. I'm glad you guys like the 90-10 balance. Anyways, so my reflections were kind of interesting. One of the things that the corporate mentor Mary Day said in her call was that like her almost like her biggest pet peeve was when coaches say, I'm taking a step back. And I was like, this is a common phrase. Like how you can, she was basically like, this is my biggest pet peeve. I hate it. Like you're dead to me when you, I think she said like, you're dead to me when you say that. And I was like, okay, Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank, shit just got real. And I started thinking about that because the reality is we all work full time. Life happens unexpectedly. We deal with things. And as much as we love our coaching business, for those of us who don't rely on it for an income or have other things that we deem as bigger priorities in our life, which is pretty much everyone on this call, no offense to the business, we love it, but other things come up. There are times that this business takes a backseat. And the takeaway that I took from the wording of like taking a step back is that it's a mentality. When the words of taking a step back come up, it's truly like, I'm not touching anything Beachbody. I'm not showing up to calls. I'm barely doing my workouts and drinking my Shakeology. I don't even know if I'm showing up on social media or checking in with my customers. And that is a different level of handling your own life's business and your obstacles and your things that come in than, like Emily said, of leaning in, or what a lot of times our team has kind of referred to as maintenance mode. And here's where the mindset part comes into play. if life happens, which it's going to, so it's more of a when than if, how you handle it not only impacts your business in the current day, but for the future, because people only see what you show them. And in a way, you can hide your struggles because you're going through personal and you're not open to that, or you can be open about them. But ultimately, through all of that too, they come to your page and they're used to seeing different types of things. And part of those things, because none of us are 100% fitness, is that you are an inspiration for that world. And so in maintenance mode, and I've talked about this in my team, but maybe not much in the hub, is the concept of you've got other stuff to handle. You might not hit Success Club that month. You might not bring on a new coach that month, but you still show up for your workouts. You still drink your Shakeology. You still plug into the challengers who are there for you. And you show up in social media in a way that feels authentic to you. So whether that means sharing about your struggles or not, you still show up about what you're doing in your life to the extent that you're comfortable. And the reason that becomes so helpful in the long term for this business is because when you are coming back and you're ready to dive in, the people didn't see that you left. And anything that we happen to have with social media where we're connecting with people who are essentially strangers is we are working on the trust factor. So if they are having to choose between multiple Beachbody coaches and they see one who is in for 2 months and then literally MIA for 2 months and in for 2 months and literally MIA for 2 months, that's probably not exciting. But if you see someone that continues to show up and maybe only in the DMs shares about the struggle or even personally, but regardless is continuing to show that they show up to some extent, when you do get back into the DMs, when you do get back into the invites, your business is still there. And that's been a huge thing for me between job transitions, between personal life issues, and also in my team. And so the reflection from it not only became a mindset thing, but realizing what it meant for me in retaining coaches. Because if I have a coach who is dealing with something, has to prioritize, has to take a step back in the business, aka can't commit to Success Club as a standard or whatever it is, that doesn't mean that they're dead to me, you guys. It means that I support them where they're at. And that literally is the reason that my girls are still, it's part of a reason that my girls are still here. Everyone has had one of those moments on my team and they still are here. And so I had this whole reflection of holy crap, it's not taking a step back, it's mindset mode. And there's a huge difference in what it looks like to the people who don't know you. Hold on, I'm going to check the chats really quickly.
I was just going to add to what Jess said. It's so true, because I actually made a post about this week, is the things about this business that you learn make your life better. And so why would you stop doing the things that make you better, right? For me, it's given me a purpose when I'm kind of grieving a big emptiness in my life right now. And I don't, the person I'm used to spending a lot of my time with is no longer there. So if I didn't have my business, guys, I would be so much more drinking wine, sleeping all times of the day, all the unhealthy shit that does not serve me. If I didn't have my business and I didn't have y'all, I would be so much worse off. And I think to Jess's point, understanding what your baseline and comfort level is. I'm very open with boundaries on what I'm going through in my life, because I'm not going to fake it, right? My audience would know if I'd been crying for the last week and I was showing up with a pretty smile, that's not authentic to me. So I can't tell y'all enough. And I shared it in the chat this week. I got so many messages from being real AF about heartbreak this past week that was so hard for me to share. I mean, so many people are like, oh, I'm so rooting for you. Like, this is amazing. Cause I've never shared a guy in my business ever in 6 years. So like, that was really big for me to do. And to share like, this is a failure is like, I want to run away and scream, but like, it's actually therapeutic for me to post about it and talk about it and let the gremlins, it's like Brene Brown's, I'm reading Daring Greatly right now, to shine the light on the gremlins and just be like, this isn't so great right now, but I'm still working out because it brings me happiness. I'm still showing up on team calls because I need the community. You know, I'm still using my supplements because they kick my butt in gear. And that's what Jess is saying. Like, the trust factor is built when you share that story, even when it sucks. All right, this is not my team call, but
No, that was so fitting though, because it's exactly like the same idea. So that was a huge takeaway for me. And then the other one for me was that your coaches remember how you make them feel. And this was personal to me because this had a lot to do with my own journey as a coach. I'm in the same boat as Amanda, where my upline coach stopped working the business, but it wasn't a black and white decision. It was a lot of, I might still, I might not, I'm not sure. And it was a lot of a selfish communication versus, what do you need from me? And if I can't provide it, who can? And so I look back at my times of retreats and being able to connect with these girls on something outside of Beachbody. And the connection was easy and simple, even though we'd only done Zoom calls and like had not spent any time in person, because our relationship was more than just, what volume do you add to my team? How many points can you put to my elite qualification? What do you need to be for my rank advancement? Those things have their place in this business, but I think one thing that has been a core aspect in my desire to grow a team and has been a core aspect in the hub as a community, from creating this where those of us who are leaders kind of shifted back in the end of last year, was that whole process around, you're a person, not a number. You're a person, not a position and a rank on my team. I see you, I hear you, and I love you for all of it. And so that was just like, to hear the feedback that came from my team in person. They didn't say it, but it was an emotional thing. And so that was kind of my last point of saying, like, your team remembers how you make them feel. And the teams who not only hit the rank advancements, but stay together after that. Because let me just say, for those of you who are new or maybe haven't been too involved in the coaching community before, there are a lot of teams that hit high ranks and literally within 6 months or a year are gone. And so the coach has that title and has that recognition without a team. I could care less to have that. And so those things were huge to take away for me. And I'm just so thankful for my girls, and we had so much fun. So yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say. Opening it up for questions, if you guys have any, but hopefully it looks like there were some takeaways. I mean, this chat was blowing up.
yeah, I would just say, like, if you've never been to an event before, or you're missing them, because I'm missing them so hard, like, start with Super Saturday, guys. And I know it's still virtual, but like, we're all going to get on Zoom and watch together and make these community aspects like our Zoom virtual gym. That's like the bare minimum, right? Like, we should all be on Zoom working out every day together, because it's fun and it brings that community level back. And so I would really challenge all of us of like, how can we continue to bring the small things that build community and togetherness back to the heart and soul of what matters most? Because if this meant so much to them, imagine how our challengers and our coaches are feeling, a year into this pandemic and being so isolated. Like, let's continue to fuse the joy and bring the things that you guys did together back into our communities, because those people matter.
Speaking of the Zoom, I was actually thinking of this earlier because there are some newer people on it. I think moving forward, even though we know a lot your Instagram handle when you log on there, so we can actually tag everybody on rather than like the 3 people that we know mostly. But like, even if you know the person on already, still put it in there because more people are coming on, and so then we could see the chat and we can actually tag like everybody.
I
Also,
love that.
come to the team happy hours that we plan to. That's the second best way to get to know each other since we're not in person. I think the next happy hour is next Wednesday, actually, right? 14th.
No, oh, it is? No, I think next Wednesday, Allie and I are talking about recognition, and then it's the week after. But that's
Wait, no, that I'm looking at the calendar. It says happy hour 14th, and then you guys on the 21st.
okay. My bad.
Come to the happy hour.
Then. Cool. This was awesome, guys. Thank you for sharing your energy. I think we could all appreciate and use as much of it as possible. And like I said, I would just continue to encourage all of you, like, keep sharing that in the hub, keep sharing your hearts, go live. Don't, like, it's not just exclusive to me or anyone. Like, every single one of your voices matter and are valued, and use this time to step outside your comfort zone and do something you haven't done in a while, because there's 570 plus in that freaking page, and there's someone in there that can relate to you in your story that can't relate to me. So I'm challenging each of you over the next week to do something you haven't done in a while, because you're awesome.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in. Have an awesome evening, and we'll see you at Super Saturday on the weekend.